Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to our event tonight. My name is Seisha. I'm the social media manager here at Charis Books and More, which is the South's oldest independent feminist bookstore, and also of Charis Circle, which is the nonprofit programming arm of Charis Books. And tonight we are so excited to host Phillip B. Williams in conversation with Alexis Pauline Gumbs for a celebration of the paperback release of Ours, a Novel. From a writer of singular voice and vision, a mesmerizing epic that reimagines the past to explore the true nature of freedom. I'm going to start by introducing Alexis Gumbs, who, of course, to this audience requires absolutely no introduction. And do it anyway. Alongside being a lifelong Charis person, Alexis is the author of several works of poetry and of Survival is a Promise, The Eternal Life of Audre Lorde, and Undrowned, the Black Feminist Lessons from Marine Animals, which won a Whitting Writers Award in 2022. In 2023, she won a Wyndham Campbell Prize for her poetry, and she currently lives in Durham, North Carolina. And of course, it's my honor to introduce the man of the hour, Phillip B. Williams, who is from Chicago, Illinois, one of my favorite places in the country, and is the author of two collections of poetry, Thief in the Interior, which was the winner of the Kate Tufts Discovery Award and the Lambda Literary Award, and Mutiny, which was a finalist for the Penn Volker Award for Poetry Collection and the winner of a 2022 American Book Award. Williams is also the recipient of a Whitting Award and fellowships from the Radcliffe Institute for Advanced Study at Harvard University and the National Endowment for the Arts. He currently teaches in the MFA in Creative Writing program at NYU and the Randolph College Low Residency MFA. And we are so excited to have these two brilliant poets and authors here with us tonight. Before I pass it on to Alexis to start with our questions, I'm going to do a couple housekeeping things. I wanted to remind the audience that there will be time for Q&A at the end. So if you have questions, comments, or just want to leave love for our authors tonight, you can leave your comments in the chat box or in the Q&A box. And then, of course, a reminder that buying your book from Charis allows us to keep putting on events like this. So if you want to support us, please purchase your copy of Ours, your paperback copy of Ours, from the teal link right below us where it says Buy Ours. But I'm going to head off and I will come back at the end to close this out.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yay, we're here. First of all, congratulations on 1 year of this book being in the world.
Thank you.
It's been beautiful to see you journey all over the world, to see the conversations that you've been having in diaspora about the core theme of freedom, possibility of freedom that I see in this book and that everybody sees and feels in their own ways. There's so many things that I want to say, but I just want to start by acknowledging that this is a great work. I mean, I've heard people talk about it in ways that I feel are appropriate. I would say this is a once in a generation work. I would say this is a work with the capaciousness to hold us for so long. I've already read this book multiple times and out loud. And it is such a treasure, and it will have such a long life. So to celebrate the first year of its life feels like this great honor. And I'm just so proud of you, so grateful to get to be a part of this celebration, but most of all, grateful to you for allowing such an epic work to come through you.
Mm.
Yeah, I want to say that there's no way that we get this without you continuing to show up and come back and show up and come back. And that faithfulness is an offering to generations. So thank you for being who you are, Philip.
Thank you so much. And we go way back. Like
Way back.
way back. Yeah. And I was working on this in when we met, but it was not really coming together. I was so young. It was 2008.
Yeah.
But
So
to
16,
see,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
No, just tell us about that. 16 years ago when you were working on it and it wasn't coming together. What was that like?
It, I didn't think I would be able to do it. It started off as a short story in undergrad, and then Crystal Wilkinson saw that it had more possibility as a novel, and I had felt that I only submitted it to the prize because I was broke and I wanted some prize money. Else maybe I was betting on myself. Maybe there's a way that I can do this, and I got fourth place, which I had never seen before. So I think it was like negotiated for me to get that.
That's right. So some people were fighting. They were like, "This one."
This one. And I was able to get my ramen and my brownies and all the unhealthy things to sustain myself. But it was the beginnings of someone seeing a vision that I didn't think was, not necessarily, I didn't think it was necessarily impossible, but there was something about it that was very overwhelming because I knew that I was channeling something that I was still studying. I had just taken a Toni Morrison class. I had just, read Steinbeck. I hadn't even touched um, Tony Kane Barbara. So I was very, very green in this. And so 16 years of starting it and then losing faith in myself and being able to do it and taking years off and then returning to it and taking 2 years off and then returning to it, it seemed really impossible to do. So now that it's at its 1 year anniversary, it's pretty bizarre to have gone through all of that
You did
doubt
it.
and the decade and a half, right? And to, have all the grays to show it, you know. Um, so yeah, I had to become the person ready to write the book for it to come out. I had to be patient with myself in that way. And to thank my mom who kept asking me, where's the novel? Where's the novel? So it just
Oh,
feels like a
thank you,
long
Mom.
time coming. Yeah. Thank you, Mom, for
Yes.
real.
Oh, she knew. Crystal Wilkinson knew. That's a wise woman.
That's a
Listen,
wise woman.
so okay, I'm gonna tell. We go back 16 years. I remember the day because it was a pivotal day in my life. It was September 14th, 2008, which, in addition to being my grandma's birthday, is the first date that I got to have with the love of my life, Shango Dare, who's in the chat giving you love
Hey,
right
Shango
now.
Dari.
And in the other side of the house, watching this. um, but yeah, it is a item, like it's gonna be described in a way that has dignity, right? That there's a way that I really want people to understand that in the book you see a story of someone who has the power to create a space where people who have been enslaved and the children of those people can live free from re-enslavement, right? And that is a huge gift, but then it also becomes very complicated as everybody's working out their freedom, right? But then on the other level, you are a person who created a space for all of these ancestors to live, for profoundly transformative Black literary characters to live and not be instrumentalized, dehumanized, um, just become tools for making some kind of point, right?
Right.
And So you actually created the safe space, a safer space than the conjurer saint of the novel creates, because it doesn't, you in creating that space never let them down, right? Like in
Mhm.
your rigor of making sure, Philip, the poetry, making
Mhm.
sure that when you met them in these moments where their lives are changing and they're saying the hard thing or they're saying the wrong thing or they're losing something so important to them, that you meet them there with words that hold it in its complexity and never flatten it.
Mhm.
It's a huge act of love. This whole book is an act of love. Okay, so
Thank you so much. Thank you
I
the
have
whole
so
talk.
much to say. No, thank you. This is all I'm saying is thank you 5011 ways. But I was thinking last night, Shangodari and I were revisiting the scene where Naima and Thylius are bathing with a bucket in the backyard,
Yeah.
right? And so for folks who haven't read the book yet, these are these are two people of two different generations. So Thylius, she has survived slavery, and she's one of the people who came, like a first generation person of this community, ours. And Naima is a person who we actually still have a lot of mystery about Naima's origins, but Naima is a person who was brought to ours by the conjurer as a child and grew up in this community. But there is this clarity, like they're finding each other, they're healing each other, they're grieving with each other in a particular way that's really beautiful to see happen across generations.
Mhm.
And then they're bathing, and Thylius says, I don't even want to paraphrase. I'm like, I gotta actually read it to you all, because what I just said about
Can I read this section?
yeah, you
Is
read it
real,
to us. That would be even better. You write on it.
yeah.
Yes.
It won't take long. I'm not gonna read all of it. Um, the laughter of falling water into a bucket woke Naima. Thylius was bathing outside, naked, joyfully and modest, as she stood in the yard out back, lathering her body with a soapy rag. Naima watched from the doorway the suds caught in the woman's belly fat, rolls of flesh covered in soft white bubbles, and wondered if she would ever take up space that beautifully. Often she wished she was invisible, and often she was treated that way to her detriment. But here was Stylius in quiet nude, refashioning the space around her into a stage where she was both performer and part of the adoring audience. Water the only sound other than her heavy breathing as she diligently washed herself. Sunlight washed her along with the water and spun rainbows inside the bubbles. Help me with my back? Silas asked. I'll wash yours. Silas handed her a rag from the bottom of the basin, and they washed themselves, wetting the grass as they handled their bodies with care. Naima took Silas's rag to wash her back, but froze. What do you need? Silas asked. I never washed somebody else before, Naima said. You don't have to touch or be touched if you don't want to. Those days are over, Naima. You understand?
That part. And I have to say, I mean, I really got my healing inside of it.
Mm.
You know, the that definition of freedom, right? That Thalias offers Naima in that moment. Whew,
Yeah.
it's you so richly describe it, you so lovingly enliven it that we can live inside of it and receive the ceremony that we need to receive,
Mhm.
right? And that's one of the ceremonies that I needed.
Yeah.
And this that was a page and a half, you all. There is just ceremony after ceremony after ceremony after ceremony in here,
It's
right?
so
Shamina's
many.
like, I can't wait to read it again because you find different things, right? And there's different. We change as we read it. I thank you for doing that reading, Philip. I have to shout out um, my little brother who's actually taller than me now. Jared, who you met in
Yeah,
Philadelphia at your event
good
last
people,
year.
Jared.
So glad he came, even though I forgot to tell him about it until tonight. But thank you for showing up, Jared. And I think that's a good way to segue into this question that I have for you about the journey, right? Because you've been in the world with this book for a year. People have been sharing their experience of it, sharing their curiosity about it. You've been in conversation with people all over the world around the book. And I would just love to hear from you what that journey has been like, what some of the surprises have been, what some of the offerings have been that you've received back from the community as you've shared it.
Yeah, one of the experiences, I mean, I'm grouping them like it happens frequently, but one of the experiences I get is, when I receive messages from people who've read the book and they pour into me in ways that I'm not used to because the text had poured into them, the story, the characters. And I'm always surprised by who everyone's favorite is. Some folks like Naima, but there have been more women in films who say, I really connected with Saint. And I'm like,
Mm.
thank you, because she's someone who can be easily disconnected from. I don't, no spoilers, but she's a challenging personality. But there's something in how she's been challenged and how it is reflected in the way that she treats other people and expects to be treated. She's very demanding, that when I get messages and folks are like, Saint reminded me of my my this maternal figure, this grandmother, my mother, and it's always with love. Sometimes a complex constellation, but that has been a beautiful surprise, is that I was able to write a character as a man, queer, yes, but still a man living, as a man, that could resonate with women, with femme identified folk, um, and not just to see them, but to see generations of their family. That was I mean, who knew? I wasn't, trying to do that. I was just trying to be honest. And I think the second thing is the reception of it in Europe. So I'll be in Germany April through September teaching for the Picador series in Leipzig University. And I'm thinking that's going to be it. Like, I'll go there, I'll teach, I'll write the next book. But they set up about a dozen tour stops for me.
Mm.
And I'm like, there are going to be 12 places that are welcoming me to hear me talk about this book in Germany, and there'd be translators and who knew? I mean, I didn't think that that would ever happen. Um, and going to London and having beautiful black-led book groups, read the book and, call it one of their faves, if not their fave. I've been able to connect with the world with this book. During a time when I was writing it, it was the loneliest time of my life. The
Mm.
loneliest time of my life because it took 16 years, but the book that everyone's reading is the culmination of 2018 and 2022, where so let's buckle down, let's look at what we have, and I had never been lonelier in my life in those 4 years, and
Mm.
COVID is included in 2 of those years, um, and so to have written this book during this time of feeling so rejected by life and people and then to have all of these open arms welcome me back into the world. Who would have imagined? Who could have thought? So yeah,
Oh, I mean, first of all, your mom knew.
my mom knew
Crystal Wilkinson knew.
it.
And as soon as I read this galley, I knew. I was like, those people in Germany know what I know. They want everyone to read this book. I really want to live in a world where people have witnessed this dignity and found the healing that they will find in this book. And I think that that's exactly what the response that you're getting is reflecting. Like, this is, I mean, it's a book you could thump. I mean, we know we have a character in there who literally is a Bible thumper,
Bible thumper.
like literally thumping Bibles at that wagon. But I am an hours thumper. I'm out here like, listen. It is it's grace. There's grace
Mm,
in here for everyone who reads it because the characters give each other grace, withhold
yeah,
grace, find their own grace, sometimes while they're living, sometimes after they die,
right.
sometimes through that passage, right? And yeah, it is yeah, it's it's big. It's big. It's physically big.
Mm,
But this is I really do feel like there's before and after this. And I'm not saying this like for
mm,
your
mhm,
ego,
mhm,
because I just personally love you and appreciate you. I think that you have shown another possibility for how we work with this technology that our ancestors have modeled for us of Black literary work, of creating worlds and honoring characters inside those worlds and their complexity.
mhm,
I'm,
mhm,
I'm seeing beautiful things in the chat. Sharita saying a timely blueprint for freedom and communal care.
mhm, mhm, mhm,
And what we deserve, right? Like we deserve to be able to learn from other people's journeys and mistakes,
right.
right? And reading this book, we have generations of lessons around freedom where people are working it out, where it's definitely messy, where they do the wrong thing, where they do the right thing. But then anybody who reads this, oh, your students are here in the chat. Are you seeing that?
The
So
pie.
beautiful. Actually, that was going to be my next question, but I'm going to gush a little bit more and just say that anyone who reads this book is actually richer with
Mm,
experience for the journey of reading this book.
mm,
You know,
mhm.
there are old stories about myself that I was able to let go because I read this book.
To fire them up, some kind of catalyst. And so the prompts that I make are prompts that I think I would have liked to have gotten if had I been, when I was younger, as opposed to write a poem about love, write a poem where It's like, okay, write a poem, or not even a poem, just write something within these parameters, and then do with it, what you want, but always consider that you only have this much space, or consider this is the context, and you're never going to get this opportunity again to say these things, and you have a very limited vocabulary to do it. Something that pushes beyond comfort. Because I think a prompt that is a good prompt is one that points to not only what it is that you can do, but the things that you thought maybe were very challenging or out of your league. And so when I give prompts, what I'm hoping is that people feel expansive after they've done them. Maybe even intimidated in the forefront, but that intimidation, I think, is one of the bigger tricks I'm still trying to leap to.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I mean, this is part of the miracle of this book because, you know, we love a novel by a poet, right? This is
I've heard,
this
I've
is
heard.
right. It's a thing. We love it. Um, but this is not just, I mean, no, like, okay, novel by a poet. Maybe one of the first things that we would understand on the surface is just the language is so beautiful. The descriptions are so vivid, lush, thick, all of it. Um, but the other thing that makes this a novel by a poet is your rigor, not only with language and with description and with the creation of settings and scenes and interiority, which are all
Mm-hmm.
things that are miraculous in this book. It's that, and I can say this because I've known you for 16 years. It's because the rigor that you have with yourself in terms of finding new possibilities of how to understand who you are
Yeah.
is evident in the kaleidoscopic possibilities of self understanding that are in these characters, even within one character, right? There's so many versions of themselves, possible understanding of themselves, new ideas of how they can be in relationship to themselves, to earth, to the community, to other people.
Know how much you received in reading it. The way that I learned how to love in writing these characters is mind blowing. You know, there's a scene in the book between a character named Justice, who at this time is a teenager, and his adoptive father, Mr. Wife, who, when he finds out that Justice's parents have done something to him that makes the existence of ours so arbitrary, that scene there, actually, I cried when I finished that, because he says, Justice says to Mr. Wife, he's like, it don't hurt no more. I was like, oh, okay. I had to push the laptop, and I had to walk away from the laptop. Um, so just the writing of the book was a ceremony for me. I freed myself so much in writing hours, and
Yes.
it just wasn't an intellectual project only. I did my research. I tried to stay very acute when it came to suggestions of the conjure. I didn't name anything in there, because it still has to be fiction, and so I can't say that, oh, this is the process of a voodoo ceremony, because it's also not true. We don't know unless we're initiated. Um, but there's enough, pointing to and hinting at these traditions where I had someone who is a not a babalao. What is But in that tradition, I don't only want to say what she is, but in that tradition, and she's like, "You got some things right. You got some things right."
Uh-huh.
It's like, okay, oh, from your mouth to spirit. She's like, you got some things right. You touching on some stuff. So yeah, there is some. And, you mentioned. I'm being long-winded. I'm sorry, but you mentioned the
Nope,
ceremony
that's
of
why we're here.
Naima, and is why we of Naima and Silas. I didn't consider that to be a ceremony, but it is. It is. In that chapter alone, there are so many ceremonies in that way
Yes.
with um a haircut. We don't know who, I'm not gonna say whose hair, there's a haircut,
Mhm.
there's the bathing, there's even the question of saying, do you know? She's like, do you know what a bitch is?
No, no, no. We ain't. It will not be canceled.
It will not be canceled. And every time I think of scenes like when the character Joy hears her lover's voice and he's about a mile away and she's running through the grass, I'm hearing like hand clap and a cappella or
Mhm.
something like that. I love an atmospheric piano. The So I have a book of poetry coming out in 2026. Um,
Yay!
yes, there are things coming out. It's called Lift Every Voice.
Mhm.
It's it's
Exactly.
it's something, child. Um, and I'm working on a new novel, just thinking through addiction and
Mhm.
healing, communal healing around that. Um, but that's all I got. And so every time I think of the new books, I'm thinking, well, who would I want to, voice this, or who would I want to? And so for hours, I've had time to sit and think. I have a list. I have emailed the list. It is in my dream notebook where I get my tarot read or whatever kind of reading, spiritual reading. Um,
Mhm.
and I want to pull it up, but it will take me out of this. So just bear with me. But I believe I have for Saint, Rutina Wesley or Ingenue Ellis Taylor. Uh,
Woo!
for oh, I don't have anyone for Francis because Francis is a tall, gender non-conforming person who leans.
Instant the access and that instantiation of it, and then just the ceremony of embodying and enlivening it in that in the way that it will be in the limited series. We're here for it. We're here for see
Yeah,
we did it right. Jamie's working on it. Who knows some of the
maybe
HBOs?
it's working.
I know an organizer when I see an organizer in the chat. Yes, I love it. I love it. I love it. Wow.
Especially
Well,
during these
we
times where everything is being canceled, everything is being banned, to get something like this to even appear, that could be the challenge in of itself. Maybe, trying to do this some years ago could have been easier, not necessarily, but the time for it to appear is now. The time for people to read this book is now. If I can like wax a bit of, pride for the book, there's stuff in here, y'all, like that could really help you get through. I say that with full blown confidence and clarity of intention of and understanding of what I've written. Get the book, get it for people, and if they're talking about they're intimidated by the length, tell them that the book is long because they deserve it to be long. They
exactly.
don't. They deserve a book this long. It's for them. If they talk about, oh, it's a slavery book, correct them. Nobody's getting
No, it's
lynched.
not.
Nobody's getting whipped. There is some hurt and there is some harm in there. It deals with that time, but it's a book that is focused on freedom and it's focused on conjure. It gets crunk. It just get violent. They defend themselves.
Yep. We need this book so much in this time. Whew, and the clarity of it. Mm. I'm
We got
I'm
we
supposed
got
to.
5 more minutes.
We got 5 more minutes. I'm supposed to invite Seisha back to tell people to actually click this link and buy the book, but I'll say it
And buy the
again.
book.
Buy the book from Charis. It's so full circle. It's like I met you on my first date with Shangodari. First place I ever saw Shangodari was at a Charis event for the Charis Review, when Charis used to have a literary magazine, by the way. Maybe that could come back, just saying. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so it's all a circle, but I just want to say my gratitude to Charis for
Always.
supporting, always supporting and making space for our community to really love what we read, to really
Yeah.
be transformed by incredible projects like this project.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you want to say before Seisha comes back and oh, you still can say it though.
Um, every eye on the book counts. Every eye on the book counts. So if you have a book club and it's just two of you, the two of you count. Um,
Yes.
if you're thinking about, will my students be able to read this? The answer is maybe. You have to try. You know,
The
you have
answer
to
was
try.
always maybe, even if it was a two-page article. So,
Even if it was a two-page, it gets challenging. I would say high schoolers, maybe not so much, but try. Undergrad, graduate, absolutely. If you
definitely.
got children, absolutely guide them through it. Um, it doesn't have to be a situation where you have to have 20 to 100 people. I've grown, I've matured in such a way where I can go to a place, and I've had this happen. I've had two people come to a reading, and I'm like, let's get closer. Let's just bring the chairs in and let's just talk. Like, every eye, mind, heart, and capsule of spirit matters. So get this book out there. I don't never ask for nothing unless
Mission and allows us to keep putting on events like this. If you are going to purchase your paperback copy of ours, please